Hello, welcome. Susan Graham here at Manifest Now TV with me. Today we have a special guest with us. Her name is Vanessa Petronelli, and I will just give you a quick little intro bio. Vanessa Petronelli works with those who were never meant to fit into the old world. For over 16 years, she has guided visionaries, conscious disruptors, and those called to something greater through the raw, life-altering transitions that demand real change. In a time of uncertainty and upheaval, she helps people build unshakable self-leadership, deepen their connection to God, and step fully into their purpose with clarity, power, and conviction. So we'll talk more about that, and let's get to it. Hopefully, you're excited to listen to our conversation with Vanessa Petronelli. And always a good reminder to please subscribe at Manifest Now TV. Share with your friends, do the practices, follow along with me, listen to the interviews to keep your vibration high and your frequency up at the level that you need to, or that we need to bring us the attraction that we want, to attract what we want, right? So the higher we vibe, the easier it is to manifest and bring the things that we want into our lives. So that's what I like to do, offer that. Techniques, you have to do it yourself. That's the trick too. I like to set the intention with a good energetic vibe, just as we're waiting for Vanessa Petronelli to hop on. So an om vibration, sound vibration. Inhale, exhale, om. Inhale, om. In through the nose, and then exhale through the mouth. You can do a few more of those on your own, always. Maybe not before bed, because it actually energizes you and increases your frequency. So in one of the modalities that I've been trained and extensively in, their setup for energy healing is actually doing sound vibrations, either while you're doing it in their specific hand positions or before or both. And you can do it out loud or in your mind or in your head. So I like to always set up out loud a few and then just keep going in my head, in my mind. So always being conscious about prana, vibration, energy, source, frequency, right? Counting, breathing. So it's actively part of my day, throughout the day. And that's, I also believe, part of the key, one of the key ingredients. Yeah.
Hi. Wait, can I hear you? Hold on. No, I cannot.
Oh,
Oh, now I can, I
oh,
think.
can you
There
hear
we
me?
go. Yeah, I can hear.
Okay.
Like, oh no, please don't give me issues.
All good. It's so nice to see you.
So nice to see you too and to kind of meet you. I know it's virtual, but like it's next
I know. It's
like
been
next best thing, right?
yeah, no, it's thank you for agreeing to let me interview you today. So and just FYI, I've already did like a little pre-intro bio. Did you do
Yeah.
with part of I do that all the time. So I've already read out like part of your bio. So now I want to kind of go back in and read the next section and lead into your first question.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Is that okay? And then
You
I'm going to come
start
back and
wherever you need to.
end with like your last info, which is like where you've been featured on and with your information.
That's perfect, Susan. Great. Yes, awesome. How are you feeling?
Better.
Yeah?
It's been a long one, but this feels right again. I've wanted to do this for a long time. So I'm finally, this is like you're like part of it here. Like part of
Mhm.
I'm gonna say what I've been meaning to manifest, or I've been this in this long dark night of the soul or procrastination, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
mental instability for
Mm.
a few years. And
Hmm.
I'm just finally, phew, I can see
Yes.
clearly now.
Right. Well, actually, before we even hit record, I love that you said that because the piece around the Dark Night of the Soul, I got a massive hit on that because I do a lot of work with transitions of death rebirth. And this has been something that I feel like every person I've met, whether they can language it as, the Dark Night of the Soul or not.
I am recording, by the way.
Oh, that's right. You
It
are
just
already. So, okay, that's cool.
it just automatically started, and I thought, whatever, like if I can cut
Cut
it.
it out. You can always edit it out.
Yeah. So sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no. I mean, this Dark Night of the Soul piece is huge because I think 2020 was the onset for a lot of destruction and dissolution, both internal, obviously external. We've seen the world rapidly shift. There's so much instability, uncertainty, and don't get me wrong, there always has been, but it's amplified because we're in this massive shift in consciousness right now. And so a lot of people have been going through these massive transitions, major spiritual awakenings. They're, myself included, I've had the longest and darkest death and rebirth cycle I've ever experienced. And during this time, my methodology came through. And it was God's way of saying, this is what you're going through. And let me give you kind of a map of how to understand it. And that's what I've been teaching, my clients the last 5 years as well. So
That's
it's,
awesome.
I hear you. And part of it is letting go of our inner judgment around when we think we should start or begin things. Because my hang up is my podcast. I already have my intro and outro done like a year and a half ago, but I've been like putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. But I think that there's a timing to that. So
Right.
you
I
are doing this in the
do
perfect timing,
I
Susan.
do agree. Actually, I do agree. That's actually I think my biggest manifesting it all comes down to timing.
Yeah.
With any of it, whatever it is you want. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. Thank you for that. But yeah, I think I
Yeah.
agree with you 100% that it's been a
Hmm.
rough go for many of us
Yeah.
people, and especially us sensitive, light working types. It's like been, I just dug myself out from the depths
Hmm.
of the darkest. Like I didn't know if I was going to make it. It was kind of like that, right? Like you're just
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
so this is it. You're part of and this is amazing because, so I know I briefly mentioned in our back and forth messaging that, this is something I started back in 2013. I actually ran an online worldwide summit, which I
Hmm.
hosted through, my own website and blog, which was susankgraham.com. Um, at that time, so it's been a long time. Now, what are we in 20? That's 12 years ago.
Hmm.
Uh, and it was great. I had 22 women come together, and I called it the Manifesting Mama Summit.
Oh, I love it. That's
And it
cute.
wasn't just about being mom. That wasn't it. It was
Yeah.
just that women came together. And so I had some pretty good big big names on that at the time, but it wasn't video, and video was hard to do then. Like it was
Yeah.
so weird how fast everything has just gone easy. Like this is easy now, and it'll just, we it'll drop in, I can edit it, and load it. Like
Yeah,
we could not do that in 2013. You had to have the extra camera and the oh, blah.
a
But so it
lot.
was an audio summit, and I gained a bunch of followers then because that was that whole concept, right? Model, business model at that time.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I loved that. But no, the best part, I really just love talking to like-minded women and discussing it because I feel part of my theory would be that the more we talk about it and immerse ourselves in it, then the higher that we're going to vibrate and be in that state. So, welcome, Vanessa Petronelli.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just to follow up with more about Vanessa's work, she describes this work isn't about passive healing. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be. It's deep, practical, and built for real-world impact. Whether you're navigating a personal rebirth, relationship changes, reclaiming your voice, or restructuring your career or business, Vanessa helps you move forward with unwavering trust in yourself and your path. Through private mentorship, immersive retreats, and her equine soul journey experiences, she helps you break free from what no longer serves, embody your highest truth, and lead with the kind of presence this world so desperately needs. So I'm
Mhm.
so grateful and thankful to have you here today
Mm.
discussing your work, Vanessa, and how it is helping enlighten the rest of us and the world and the planet and help us vibrate high because that's what you're doing. So
Thank
just to start, I
you.
have this question. So what inspired you to start your journey, like with this personal transformation and
Yeah.
and the consciousness work? Where did it all begin?
Well, it did start in childhood. I will say that. Okay. So I've always had a very deeply intuitive spiritual sense to me. I was brought up Catholic my entire life. And I don't identify with Catholicism for over 20 years. But I started as a little girl knowing that I was here for some reason. So I was, having light language ceremonies with crystals. I didn't know what it was at the time.
Right, right, right.
I was working with angels, and I just had this very deep relationship to that part of myself. It was just a natural thing. And then at 14, I heard the voice of God say, "You're going into the entertainment industry and you're going to help a lot of people in that." It was never on my radar, okay? Never on my radar, but all of a sudden I'm auditioning for a female pop group. This is a long time ago, so I'm giving away my age. Like the time of Spice Girls, okay? And like,
I love the
Backstreet
Spice
Boys, all
Girls.
of that. Oh, me too. Me too, okay? So this is like, I mean, imagine being 13, 14 years old and like auditioning
Oh,
for a girl group and like it's during this time. I
oh
mean,
my
there's nothing cooler than that. But
God.
I didn't have any kind of acting experience in that sense or, professional. I wasn't a professional vocalist, but I played piano in the conservatory for 10 years. And so I learned by ear when I played piano. Okay. I'm really curious to hear more about that expression on your face.
Well,
Maybe
I
you're
did
doing a
too.
similar thing.
It's so, can you believe we did Royal Conservatory music for
Isn't
10
that
years?
cool? Wow.
Do you know how hard that is?
Oh, I know. I call the piano the instrument of torture.
You
I
must have been
hated
good
it when
though.
I was good.
You must have been good because I wasn't, like I really wasn't.
It was because of my perfectionism and at a very young age, and that's been also part of my wounding, right, to the performative part of myself. It was very easy to slip in and be good at things that I focused on, and piano was one of them. Music definitely was one of them, and that's how I learned how to sing. So I used to be able to mimic singers' voices that I would hear. So when I went into the audition, I remember Mandy Moore, and oh my gosh, I forget the other vocalist's name. She was really popular at the time. So there was like a more of an R&B ballad, and then there was like, the poppy kind of stuff. And so I went in and I did both of these, songs, and then I got into this group. I was several rounds of auditions, all of that. And then I ended up going into high school. I had, top agents in acting. I was getting into acting. I started modeling. So from 14 to 24, I was heavily invested in the entertainment industry. That was my world. I started
Interesting.
my own business after I graduated from university college, and I was working with a lot of talented kind of performers and models and personalities doing event marketing and promotional work. And I was around 20 at that time, 21. And at that exact same time, I was building out this marketing business. I also started going through my preliminary awakening because being in that industry, as much as I felt like it was a purposeful thing, there was so much ego and so much superficiality around it. And it was hard because you're not judged for your heart and your soul and your light. You are judged by how you look, how thin you are, how talented you are. Can you sell for a record label? Can you sell for this designer? Everything
Mm.
is based, and it's a very screwed up industry, as we know. There's a
Of
lot of
course.
darkness in it. And but it was a very beautiful time in my life because it was also the catalyst for my initial spiritual awakening because I had always been questioning things, questioning the world, questioning why humans were the way they were. People were miserable. Why? Who says we go to work 5 days a week and get 2 days off? Like, and it was, I was always met with the same response because that's just the way life is. And so that was never good enough for me. And I had my initial awakening when I went down a very deep and dark rabbit hole, um, kind of researching what's been happening in the world. Came across obviously some very interesting individuals in that path that I was reading and getting my hands on, and a lot of synchronicities happened, and a lot of the things that I had been feeling felt confirmed for me at that time. And it was also around 2021 where I very much questioned my purpose because I felt purposeless in this industry where I was not actually getting ahead and, doing good like I had thought I would. My dream was to get to LA. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I was planning to get to LA by the time I was 24 to be in the movie industry so I could work on amazing scripts. This was the mindset I was in. I want to work on scripts that help to change and tell stories that change humanity. I want to
Okay.
be a part of a movement of that. And so that felt everything in that industry felt like I would get to a very high level and then something would take that opportunity away. I would get the lead
Mm.
part, and then all of a sudden, last minute, I would get replaced, or the
Oh,
project would fall through, or the funding would fall through, or as a
oh,
solo singer, or the band, one of the
so
girls
hard.
got pregnant, and then kind of everything fizzled out, just on the brink of having big success. So there was a lot of that happening. And so there was deep disappointment, but in that disappointment, there was also an intuitive knowing of something's not right here. And that's when I started to really dive into personal development. I had my first life coach at 23. I was leaving behind Catholicism and really rediscovering what spirituality meant to me. And then by the time I left the industry, God kind of hit me with a two by four. I was set to go to LA. I had agents I was going to meet there. I got a virus on my face. That was the catalyst for me to not go. And then I actually went back to school, and it was in school that I knew that I was going to do some kind of healing coaching type work to help people. And I was in the most supportive program in my post-grad program that helped with all of that. And I started my business while I was in school and started taking on clients. I got my yoga teacher training, my mindfulness certification, and I was also in a very horrible relationship at the time. I mean, he was unfaithful, but it was the perfect relationship to learn to trust myself, to learn to trust my knowing because
Right.
I was getting spiritual signs. I had a lot of deep intuitive knowing, and clairvoyance was coming on, all of it that I could see and feel and know things. So all of it was the preparation for the work that I've been doing for 16 and a half years with people full time. And so once I finished school, all of that, I dove headfirst into this work, and I have had many iterations of this business. I've served thousands of clients globally, group programs, retreats, one-to-one work, workshops, classes, all that, and used to trance channel. I mean, all these things.
The
And
stuff. All the stuff.
all
Yeah.
the stuff. So that's kind of how I got into this. But it's from a knowing that I'm here to help people remember who they are
Hmm.
and to
I love it.
align that in a very grounded, practical way. And I know, and this is definitely deepening a lot more in the last 5 years, like really having an intimate relationship with God, like getting right with God. Like it's not about my journey, it's about what God's divine plan is for me and having that sacred, holy relationship with God. And for some, that might look religious. For others, it might look different, but I'm in the middle. I can pull from all of it. And I have formed this very sacred union with God that I hope to impart and to help the people that work with me to find that sacred relationship with God in their own unique way.
That's right. That's awesome. So I can relate to that on many levels
I love
because
that.
I am much similar with the background training and, all of that. And then, of course, the Catholicism.
Mm,
And then you go into yoga and Buddhism, and then,
yes.
you're like, oh, let's Hindu, let's talk a whole
Mhm.
bunch of stuff. So it seems to me you're very, interested or curious enough to be open-minded to a lot of the different ways. And then
Yes.
it's like God. It all just comes
It
down.
all comes right back, right? It's like, let me
It's
hear
like,
a winding
oh,
journey, and then, okay,
God.
I'm ready,
Like
God.
so I did it all, Kabbalah. Like I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I should have studied religion. Like get on this kick, and because I get so involved in it. Like read the Bible, Kabbalah, Judaism, like Islamism is right. Just all of it, right? Like I'm just, again, you just all just there it is. It just comes back to God. So are you listening? Are we listening? Are you hearing it?
Yes. Yes.
Most people are not. Do you have faith, enough faith in that to believe it, to listen, to
Hmm.
hear it? Again, back to all of that. There's so many, of us that don't, and they don't access that at all. They don't know how to access that.
Hmm. Hmm.
They don't have that 16 years of training and background, right? Yoga. I mean, really, yoga, we know when you do, and when you immerse in that meditation yoga space,
Hmm.
right? There's no really going back.
Yeah. I think what the word I kept hearing as you were talking about it is when people are truly seekers and they're seeking the truth of who we are, why we're here, what the purpose of their life is, the purpose of life in general. There's a certain kind of mindset and heart and just kind of soul resonance that wants to discover and explore all these different ways of coming back home to themselves, right? Like ultimately. And even though like I'm not really on a new age path so much anymore,
Right.
but I still very much can respect the journey and not condemn it and judge it because it's part of my story. It's part of my journey back to God. And God is all loving and wants to be there for us and doesn't want to judge us in how we find Him. That's how I express it. Other people may not, but I
Right.
think for a lot of people, when it comes down to spirituality and why people may not want to be able to listen, like you're saying, right? And access that. From my perspective, there's a lot of religious trauma in the world. And because
Right.
of the level of indoctrination and trauma and abuse in some cases, cult-like experiences, people are very apprehensive and hesitant to dive into spirituality or some kind of version of that because God is now something that's tainted for them, and rightfully so for many people. Not everybody has an experience with God from the time they're a child or even as a young adult
Right.
that feels like we're with an all-loving God, that feels like we're cared for by a loving presence and energy and consciousness. And I think that is one of the human things, the human um, tendencies to try to tell people of this is how God should be and this is how
Right.
God thinks you
Right.
come to God through me. Like I never resonated with the Catholic Church of saying I'm the Father. No, if the Father is God, not
Right.
you, and
Right.
I don't need to go through you to go to God.
I bet.
And
Yeah.
so I think that that is part of this awakening. Like, and I don't know if that's your experience. I don't know what happened for
Yeah.
you with
There's
Catholicism.
lots.
Like a lot of layers, right? Like it's a very heavy, layered, sensitive conversation for a lot of people.
It is. And when you are born and raised Catholic,
Hmm.
right? That's what it's called. You are indoctrined in. We are
Yeah.
indoctrinated. We didn't have a choice, right? Like it was birth and baptism. Like we had to do the sacraments. And okay, fine about all of that. And you detach from all of that. However, the deep resonance of prayer and belief in God or Jesus
Yes.
and the stories, because as much as they could be fake, real, or just stories, or that Jesus is whatever, whether you believe
Hmm.
it or whether it's fiction, nonfiction, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They are examples of life and how to cope, manage, deal, right? That's
Yeah.
all it comes down to. It's not like you have to, it's all perspective, right? We don't have to be that, hard towards it. You can open up the perspective, I think.
I agree wholeheartedly. To share something I have not shared publicly with you, I had a lot of resistance for a long time going to the Bible. I tried many times to sit and start in Genesis
Me too.
and read through it. And I have to tell you, like, I live in the Bible Belt now. So it's,
Yep.
in the South, it's a big thing, Christianity here. And I started to notice around 2025, when all the rumblings of stuff started to happen, this natural inclination to God pursuing me in a different way, and to me feeling getting closer to Holy Spirit. I've always had a relationship with Jesus,
Mhm.
but even feeling that deepening, like something happening. And this year, I have felt a lot of the resistance towards going to the Bible and starting to read it and opening it and looking at some of the scripture and, kind of, wow, like there's some interesting things in this. Going to the book of Revelation that everybody's talking about, that we're in those times, Jesus
Right.
is coming,
Yeah.
but looking at it without that resistance to try to understand what is it about this text that causes wars, that creates a lot of separation, but also a lot of unity, it's lasted thousands of years, that people say there's codes and there's information in here, God's guidance, God's word. Like you will feel, I mean, I've seen a lot of new age people. I don't know if you've seen this in your kind of following and in your life, but I've seen a lot of new age people that I've known turning to Christ in the last 5, 6 years, more than I've seen
No.
people turning to new age.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm also wondering, like, what is that about? Like, what is it about this book? What is it about
I I
people
have an
coming?
I have a theory. I have a theory.
Mhm.
A little bit of a theory, an idea. The New Age doesn't resolve the issues. And
Thank you.
I don't want to say, would hate to say that it perpetuates it.
Mhm.
However, it can. You could remain in a loop of listening to the angel card every day. What?
Yeah.
What? Like, no, no. That's just for fun. And it's a little message of the day. Okay.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. But that's it. The rest of it is God. And are you
Right to the
listening? And do you have
source.
faith? And so, yeah, I totally get that. That has totally happened. So many of us ex, I don't want to say ex new age. And I hate the, new
The
age.
labels, all that. I know. I
Yeah.
hear you.
Like
Yeah.
I just am too, open minded to, just keep it to one grouping, I think. And
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I know, without mentioning names, the woman I did so many trainings with,
Hmm.
and I bought into her everything, books, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, she just dropped that world and took herself out of that. And
I have a
I get
feeling I know
it.
who you're talking about on that too, because I loved her as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fascinating to see what's happening in our world. And I think now more than ever, because there's so much uncertainty and instability, and we cannot quite find that safety and that stability outside of ourselves, that it's turning people back toward God and
God.
that inward reflection. And I think even with AI, I mean, this is singularity is like almost here. Like we have AI and robots and, artificial super intelligence coming down the pipeline so quickly now that it is actually smarter than humans. It doesn't need us in that sense. And what I believe and why this time, like there's such an urgency, even when I talk about my work now, like I feel that urgency of God saying, okay, the way you need to message your work has to be a little bit more urgent, not to pressure people to sign up to work with me. That all that old BS marketing and coaching
Okay.
shit, pardon my French. I hope I can swear. I don't
No,
know.
swear. Say whatever you want.
Is it doesn't work anymore for people. People are smart. People have been duped. People have worked with people who have overcharged and underdelivered, and people can feel like times are different now.
Yeah.
And people will invest their money in ways that they feel is of high value for them in a much more discerning way, as we all should. And what I feel is so important is being armored by God and having this
Yeah.
deep connection to our source, to our creator, because the times that we're in with all this our ASI, singularity coming down the pipeline so quickly, people are going to become part robot. We know a transhumanism agenda is potentially on the way, and we're going
True.
to lose ourselves in the technology and the reliance on artificial intelligence to do everything for us, to think for us, to choose for us, to decide, to reflect. And so we're at a critical juncture, I believe, for humanity right now, where those who are the wayshowers, the visionaries, I call them the cycle breakers, the conscious disruptors. We're the ones, the light leaders, we're the ones now to anchor this energy in with God and to say there's another way back to who we really are. This is why I'm working with horses,
Oh, you're so
because
lucky.
it's a massive blessing to be able to partner with these beautiful, intuitive, unbelievably powerful, sensitive beings in my work now. I've incorporated them over the last year. And
I just can't, I think it's incredible work, and
thank you. I do too.
I highly believe in it, and I get it, that's for sure. And I would love to be more, involved in something like that for healing's sake, for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. For us, and I'm not saying my work is the incredible work. I'm saying the work with the horses is incredible. I want to clarify that.
Your work's incredible too.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Susan. It's because I can see that nature and animals hold a consciousness that's helping to return us back to our natural state that we are slowly being pulled away from. And that's why I think there's an urgency around the work that you're doing. Why this is the time for you to have these conversations. Why it's the time for me to offer what I'm offering, to frame it the way I'm framing it, because we're in a critical point right now. And, those who are ready, those who are awake, those who are um, craving that sense of stability and safety that they've clung to outside of them for so long and are not being met in the same way, now's the time to roll up our sleeves and get to do the work with God on ourselves to heal our traumas, all of that, the emotional pain, the past, the deprogramming, so that we really can reclaim, and dare I use this word because now it's been totally misused and it's out of context so much in our society, sovereignty, but our sovereignty with God, that alignment with God and with ourselves and our purpose. Because at the same time, the old world's dying, right? You and I know this.
Oh yes, I know, thank God.
Yeah.
Just so it is painful.
It is painful to see it, but there's people like ourselves where we're here to help build a new one at the
That's right.
same time. And so
Yeah. And this is a part of why, I feel like time, we come right back to this timing concept of,
Yeah,
okay, it's time. Like I feel comfortable again doing it. I feel like people are listening, even though I don't have any followers right at the second. That's not the point. I think the level of consciousness is actually just believe it or not, risen. Thank God it has to do a whole lot more, but there's that. So people are ready. You're ready
they
or
are.
more ready.
Yes. Yes. And
Here, okay, let me sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say, and I think the more people are ready, we're hitting that tipping point where I think it's like 144,000 people need to have the consciousness shift on the planet. So, I mean, we're hitting critical masses by just doing our inner work on ourselves and being one of those people, like 10% of the population or something is what it is. I can't recall. I might be paraphrasing it. Maybe somebody who's
Oh,
listening might exactly know the number, but whether that's true or not, I have no idea. But I like to think that it is possible that we hold that power within ourselves and with God to shift a lot of things more than we can even imagine. And if you talk about
absolutely.
manifestation, that's what I think that is. It's like
That's right.
knowing our power that we hold within ourselves through God.
Absolutely. So let's move. I want to ask you this too, because we only have a few minutes left, and that's cool. Um, so I'm just some of your questions I want to ask. Do you have a daily ritual or practice that helps you stay aligned, clear, and in flow that you
I
want to share?
absolutely have and have, I've been on this path for like over 20 years. And so that was one of the first things that I started to do for myself. And still to this day, I do. So I have a morning practice and I have an evening practice. And I believe that we need to have these rituals of starting the day in prayer or meditation. I also incorporate movement. I do some super brain exercises. Sometimes I do the five Tibetan rites, or I'll go for a walk, getting the sunshine in my eyes with my dogs. But I always come into prayer. So I have prayer books, I have devotionals, I have prayers that I've read, I have healing books with prayers in them, and I'll just kind of choose, or sometimes I'm just with God praying, or my husband comes in and we do it together. And
Oh, that's
end of
so
the
nice.
yeah, it's not every day that we do that, but when we do, it actually is even more powerful sometimes than,
Of course.
we're more gathered, right?
Yeah.
And then in the evening, I do meditation. Sometimes I do somatic work, somatic movements,
Mhm.
releasing. I do maybe sometimes yin yoga, like deep, 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 stretching in the joints and ligaments. And I do a prayer and then I go to bed. I'll do energetic clearing every day as well because I have to do that, grounding, all
Okay.
that. But these are rituals, they're free,
Okay. See,
they're
so
easy.
this is what to the audience and everyone listening. So did you, Vanessa just said, like she does it every day.
Yeah.
And so do I. That's the
Yeah.
difference. So it's not, it doesn't, you don't just do it once and think,
Right.
oh, I'm fixed, I'm healed.
I'm sorry, I
Right?
laugh at that, but it's true. It's like we have this tendency to have a quick fix mindset, right?
Well, and people are like, "Oh, I don't get it. It's just it's taking forever." Well, yeah, it's a lifetime. If either you're going to do it or you're going to die. Like there's things you're going to crush. Your soul's going to crumble. Like your physical. There's you get it. Anyway. That's the
What do
whole
you
point.
do? What do you do for your rituals and your
Well,
routine?
okay, so daily, I just again, it's 30 years on this path, right?
Yeah.
And well, besides the fact that we grew up Catholic, so that means we've been praying since really the time we were itty
Born.
bitty.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So just that act alone of praying and
Mhm.
doing that from the time we were tiny children. So that starts that. Then, by my early 20s, like I'm 52 years old now. So
Yeah.
22, I think, was when I actually attended my very first yoga class and like, bam, it hit. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to teach this.
Hmm.
Like I
Hmm.
was just like, what? What? Like, yeah. And ever since, basically been meditating every day. I'm very ritualistic. I like that
Yeah.
word without it being, misused or interpreted,
Yeah.
in the sense of breathing techniques, energy techniques, which yoga, once you realize it and are in it and you teach it the way that
Hmm.
we both have, you do realize that yoga is about energy
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Sure, everyone here, we all think it's physical.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's so
fine.
much
But
more
it's
than that.
actually about energy. So life force breathing, like I'm just always in some type of a breathing technique. I'm always in some type of a meditation. So it's just grounding too, like nature outside. Like there's just
Mm-hmm.
this is, and it becomes you, you become it becomes this, that's there it is, God again, and you will let that flow through you, hopefully.
Yeah, I love that. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And doing it for 30 years, being consistent
Yeah.
with that. I mean, when I don't do my rituals and my practices, I don't know about you, but I don't feel good. Like
That's
my
right.
day feels a little awry. I don't feel as connected to myself. I'm not maybe as clear. And then I can link some of the things that have happened in the day and been like, oh, I never did my morning routine. I skipped out on it because I was like,
That's
oh,
right.
I'm good this morning. I don't need to go. But we learn through these experiences, and I want to make it clear on one thing. If you don't have a routine or some sort of morning or evening ritual right now, and you're doing it because you think you're going to be problem free in your life, that's not why. I can probably speak for you, Susan. That's not why we're doing these things, right? You're not
No,
doing it to avoid or not experience life. It's about having the ability to have the capacity to cope and manage your way through it in a much more grounded and heart-centered and just aligned way, a
maybe
non-reactive way.
calm, classy way.
Yeah, yeah,
That's always
exactly.
my goal. Sometimes, having kids, it throws you a whole other level. You think
Right.
you're calm and you're not, but you try. But yes, to all of that, like, oh my goodness, right? Like it really, and it's for real. Like if you don't, if you slack off, you do notice a difference. It's
Yeah.
just, that's why it does become you. It becomes a part of you. And that's why it is a daily thing. It's not something you just, once a month isn't going to cut it.
No, everything is about consistency. You don't go to the gym one time and expect to have a six pack, right? You
Yeah,
got to go to the gym consistently over time. You have transformation. That's like that with anything in life, including your rituals, including the inner work, including finding your purpose and building a business and having a career or, a relationship. Anything is about consistency and showing up to it every day
that's right.
and giving it your all.
Well, Vanessa, just thank you so much for being with me here today and having this great
Of course.
conversation. If you would like to reach Vanessa, you guys, it's vanessapetronelli.com. Her Instagram is at Vanessa Petronelli, and Facebook too. You will find her. I'll put the link in any of
Okay.
the comments or description, blah, blah, blah. Also, just to, on a little side note, Vanessa's work has been featured on GMA, that's Good Morning America, People, the Oscars, Parade, Glamour, and more. That's amazing. Oh
Thank
my God.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a joy
Do
having
you
this
have,
conversation with you.
oh, thank you. Did we leave anything else? Do you want to say something like where they can reach you or?
No, I mean, I think it's fine. People can, if you type my name in, you'll find me, and you can
Mhm.
contact me through any of the social media platforms and can find out more about my work and all of that. So,
Yay. I would love to come do horse equine therapy work healing.
yes, I would love for you to come and do it. I have a 2-day immersion, so it
See?
would be, and
Well,
I've opened it up for the season. So,
one day it
yeah.
manifesting.
Yes, I would love that, Susan. You would absolutely love it.